Welcome everybody to Single Malt Synthesis, whether you're watching live or you're watching this afterwards. Yeah. Hi everybody, how are you doing? How are you doing, Ben?
Very well, thank you. All good. I enjoyed the intro effects.
Yes. We're getting all like pro now, right? Constantine.
Well,
yeah, we're upping our game with each episode.
I went with I was shaking my head really intensely.
Yeah, it's fun. So because at least we got sort of a logo at least going on, which is nice. And I think but we still don't have the real audio logo that Constantine is actually working on.
It's coming.
It's coming.
I have stuff to show today, but it's not there yet.
But you already have like one sound or something ready, right? That you wanted to use.
Yeah,
That's
have
a trumpet.
The duck. It sounds like
The duck?
something between a duck and a trumpet.
Yeah, there's a kind of overused word, but organic awkwardness. This kind of kind of in the mid somewhere.
Oh, organic awkwardness. That has to be a topic for one of our streams. Just want to make one about organic awkwardness. I don't know what it is, but that sound fits it perfectly. Oh, that's lovely.
Thank you. I'm happy. I'm going to put it on my sound design resume.
Yeah.
Organic awkwardness.
Organic awkwardness.
It's a good. I think it's a good. But although I have to say that I am very fond of all those breaking sounds, especially with the woodwinds and brass instruments, where the sound kind of breaks and the pitch is not correct. All the mistakes that you can make with a wind instrument, I love those sounds.
Yeah,
Cracking,
overblowing.
creaking,
When you overblow
everything.
a reed, and yeah, it's great.
Or even before, like you get some part of the extended technique of all these instruments. If you bite hard on a woodwind, like before, you don't even have to overblow. If you bite on the woodwind, and they can be like a bit of a dual sound and stuff like that. I love it. That's what I was aiming for here. And this sound, it sounds like a dying duck when it's on its own, but if you actually play, like if you record different layers and a chord comes in, it sounds pretty neat. You'll see.
I'm looking forward to see how this sounds in context.
Yeah.
So what are you guys drinking today?
Yeah.
I'm finishing
lots
off
of
the. You go ahead, Constantine.
No, come on, we can show at the same time. I don't have
Well, it's a glass with too much ice in, accidental ice. That's the next track on Organic Awkwardness. Accidental ice.
Oh. So is that one from the last time that you're finishing?
Yeah, finishing off the balconies. I need, and it's a nice place to start, a suggestion for a bottle of whiskey.
Ah, good. I think the chat will know. The chat will have a good suggestion. Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat and I love that Frank says it doesn't sound like a dying duck. It's like, how do you know exactly how a dying duck sounds like?
Yeah, I picked. I exchanged some test equipment, some nuclear modular stuff, for a bottle of Lagavulin.
Ooh!
So
you actually did a trade?
I did a trade, yeah, because I've got all these because of the test equipment music thing, and being like in this particle magazine. And I got a lot of people. I follow back people like nuclear scientists on Twitter, and so I just posted some NIM, which is nuclear instrumentation modules, which some are absolutely fantastic for music, some not so much. I've got no use, for example, for a rate meter. I don't actually need to measure the rate of nuclear decay or something. That's not. there's no trigger out, so it's not interesting.
Yeah.
So I exchanged a bunch of like non-musical nuclear instrumentation gear for a Lagavulin, which is, I think, a good trade, because oftentimes I get these modules in a whole set. Like I buy like a whole rack and see what works. So there's also a lot of comparators in these usually, which is part of our bingo.
Someone said we need. Ooh, sorry to talk it around that. That was great.
Yeah, it sounded right. Huh?
We need that in the intro audio.
Yeah, it is
Oh
there.
yes, it needs to be
Actually,
the
you
ending.
know-
Like, puck.
Okay. Should I spoil the surprise somewhat? Okay.
You have a surprise?
Nah, come on. I just have I have some. I don't think you can see it, but there is some information, and it starts with a cork pop. You can see.
Okay. So you
I have
you
some,
already got
graphic score.
the composition planned out.
Yeah. And it's cork pop and whiskey pour. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Obvious. It's
So
obvious.
I'm gonna pour now. That was very nice glucking.
It kept
So
a
that's
good tempo as well. Those mid few accidental techno.
Accidental techno, yeah, unlikely techno. That brings us to the topic of our
That's it.
to our guest that will come later on, Wouter van Veldhoven. Because I learned of him first about his video that he made techno with 4 tape recorders, and very beautiful stuff. So we want to talk about that also. And backstage, he's already setting up some things to make this happen, maybe live on stream. Yeah, and I got a new glass. So I'm actually got the Aaron Malt whiskey glass, because that came with the cheap bottle of Aaron that I bought, which is actually quite nice whiskey for the price. Yeah. So cheers, everybody. Cheers to the chat.
Cheers, everyone.
This is just... It's too
Every
good.
time I start with a sip, I'm like, when I have the first sip, it stops being a live stream, and it's like, Friday night with friends.
Yeah,
It's like,
true.
I can,
Oh, that's
I'm just
nice.
gonna relax.
That's super nice. Yeah.
It's nice to know we're only good with whiskey.
Yeah, well, you taste good with whiskey. Come on, that's something. That's more
Oh,
than I
you
can
spun
say
that
for a lot
back
of
round
people.
very nicely.
Oh, yeah. Additionally, I also have I got this old people Club Mate, which is like, if you don't
Wow.
like sweet, you can drink this stuff, which is cherry tea mate, but it has the same effect, even a bit more, I think, but it just tastes it tastes more bitter, and also a bit less sprinkly, a bit more stale. But if you're kind of not like into the sweet stuff, this is good, and I like it more. Actually, I like it more than the actual mate, but it's also double the price of a mate, I think. So I'll only treat this rarely. So what have you guys been up
More
to in the past 2 weeks? Ben, you want
Ben?
to start? Oh no, are you frozen?
Wow. He'll be back, I guess.
He'll be
Right.
back. He'll be back.
Oh,
Yeah. So. Oh wait.
no idea what's
can-
happening. Am I there?
Yeah, you're there, but you're glitching. No, yeah.
You're glitching.
Past couple of weeks, I had Jamie Liddell on a live stream last week.
That was a
Uh,
treat.
Yeah, Jamie's great. It was really lovely just to talk to Jamie. We put a 2-hour cap on the stream because we both could have gone on for a very long time.
Yeah.
Really interesting to hear his approach to modular. We had him on an esoteric modulation podcast and did the background thing and creative practice and all that kind of general chat. But keeping it focused on modular was interesting to see how it worked for him. And going back 7 or 8 years, there's a video of him with a little Dope for Beauty case next to his upright piano, and he's singing. And there's only 4 small modules in there or something, 4 8 HP Dope for units. But I was like, oh, he's had this for some time, and completely gone on a modular binge in the recent couple of years. But yeah, the chat said, Interfon said, does Jamie Liddell do modular stuff? Yeah, he's a few cases of modular.
Yeah, I thought he has many, like, not big, but like many smaller cases, right? Not one giant one, but many smaller cases, right?
A couple of what look like shared system cases. Maybe I don't think he's got a shared system, but the IntelliGel 7U cases as well. A few kind of 2-row cases all stacked up around. But yeah, I'll find a link.
Is each thing a different system, or is it like something that he interconnects and stuff like that?
Interconnects. It's all one system, effectively. He was driving it all from a Circlon, and then all the breakout, you could take about 36 outs, I think, from a Circlon with all the expanders.
Yeah.
On DB25 connectors coming into the system and things like that. And then, sequencing, looping, ER301, who's into that. Not really using his voice that much, but he's been looping and super creative with his voice forever. So he doesn't need modular to enter that environment necessarily. Really fond of the random source surge modules, which is really nice to hear.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to ask him, but you did say on the podcast that preceded it, he maybe would have gone Buchla had he known what he knows now. And time flew.
That's a big conversation right there.
Yeah. But I don't know, did he have to go through Eurorack to get to that conclusion, or we have to go on journeys with these kind of things, as much of a cliche as that is. You don't just know that Buchla is the right thing for you before you've tried a load of other modular gear. So, or very few people do, or don't make the commitment. So, yeah,
because Buchla is such a huge financial commitment up front. So I think like ever since for the past 9 years or so, I've been looking at a Skylab, but that's $15,000 or something, like a crazy, like this is way out of reach of everything. But it looks just so much like a perfect, beautiful system and instrument. And that attracts me greatly. Though then you read Gautam of Wigglers, and I did go there to research some things again, and everybody says, no, it's too small. You need a bigger one. You're gonna just be, it's just, and it's like, no, I don't want to like bigger. So,
but yeah, working on DivKit module number 3, which will be out in second week of June to mid-June.
Nice.
I've definitely hinted at it in these streams. When something comes up, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm definitely interested in some of that," but I'm not going to really get into what it is or anything. But they'll be available when it's announced.
Throw us a bone, come on.
If they go back and watch all 24 hours of Superboost streams, there's lots of little bones
That's scattered, a big bone right there.
Scattered throughout. Yeah. It's not that large. I was going to say it doesn't make a sound, but it does. I'm not going to say any more, really. People can get. We may put a teaser online and let people guess, but it's a little bit cruel because the teaser I've prepared, blurry video, nice patch going on. You could guess one of about 15 different functions, and it's not the oscillator that's in the patch, but there are oscillators, so it's unfair to just kind of throw that out there. But yeah, so talking to shops and admin behind the scenes, and did the Supermassive video for the Valhalla DSP free plugin. Made the most ugly, ridiculous thumbnail I think I've ever made.
I think Gerald is talking about that.
Yeah, he is. He's working with menu.
Yeah, I had fun with that one. A free plug. Sean's DSP work is absolutely stunning. And it was as simple as, God, more people need to know about this. Let's just do something quickly. Made some presets. It forced me to set up a kind of preset sample store type place. I'm using Gumroad that I've seen a few people use. Nice, simple online store. They're free, but of course the store's now there for me to put packs up and sounds and loops and that kind of thing.
The store is free, but they get a percentage probably or something.
Yeah, on the free, there's 2 accounts for those that are curious. The free account, I think they take 10% plus a 3% or 2% fee on top, which is like a separate handling fee, and then you can pay $10 a month, and they just take the 2 or 3%. So as soon as there's any money involved, it's worth just paying $10 a month. But it's cheaper than something like Shopify being added to your own like WordPress website or something like that, and it's much simpler. You can do free, pay what you want. It's been lovely. It's the same as, you know, I imagine you've had on Bandcamp many times. Of you put something up, pay what you want, and quite a lot of people have put some cash in to support. It's really lovely. So yeah,
definitely.
That's been it really. You know, other odd bits of videos, but yeah, usual kind of stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I was, of course, like I was part of these. I think what was the big Supermonicon Superlaunch event, this mega launch party. I think that was last week, right? That was after our stream. Yeah. So
yeah.
And I didn't know, like, and I don't think the people at Moog even know how many people they got, but it was really, it was kind of something. I'm happy that I paired up with Loop-Pop on that. So it kind of like, anyway, like it freed me because I know he would do the technical stuff fantastically. So I wouldn't have to have that. I could just say, hey, if you want the real deep technical stuff, you can watch Loop-Pop, sweetie. I'm going to just give you a brief overview, and then we're going to talk about all the history of this instrument, where it comes from, and where I think like it's missing something, and what could be like more interesting to make it. Yeah, all this stuff that I thought about, and that was a lovely experience to do this in this kind of launch event. And I think everybody was surprised that everybody did something. Everybody did something different. I love that Sam tore it apart, and this is just fun. Everybody did their own thing with that synthesizer.
I imagine each different territory, like I know Nick DeFries now works at Moog Europe. Each one of those, I don't know many people that say Moog USA, but everyone probably set up their own individual launch around the embargo date and time. And then, it wasn't until it happened that everyone kind of went, oh, we all spoke to lots of people.
Lovely. Yeah. So I don't know. But I love the idea of the launch buddies. I mean, if something like this happens, I'm definitely gonna pair up, do another launch buddy thing. So that's be fun for that.
I mean, as a viewer, it works just fine for me. It's like, two of my favorite YouTubers at the same time.
Yeah,
and it shows a lot of solidarity. It pushes against the idea of it being competition, which I know for an audience it can feel and maybe look that way, but you know, behind the scenes, largely, I think we're all friends. I don't know of people that do what we do that don't get along. Really?
How could come on? Like, okay, yeah, a lot of you guys are doing it. You're making a living out of it. Like you have Patreons and stuff like that. But in the end, we're all into it for the music and the devices and the gear, and we all love this thing. So I mean, in the end, that kind of ties everyone together, right?
Mm-hmm. Nice nudge to the Patreon, because if you want to support our show, you can hit up the Patreon links for Ben and me, and give Konstantin some love on Instagram also. Yep. Thank you very much. Add over.
Yep. Links coming in the description.
Yeah. And
there's super chat
that was
as well.
The thing. Super chat. Oh, of course you can. If you feel like it, you can tip us a drink in the super chat. There's this small dollar thingy. Very nice that people do that. And then...
And if you own a whiskey company, please support us by...
Yeah, we're talking about the whiskey sponsorship. Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I like this idea of not taking sponsorship for the things we're discussing, but trying to go almost as ridiculous as possible. Like, today I'm wearing socks by... I mean, noise engineering t-shirts. Gerald's probably going to shout at me in a moment because I wore this in the Superboost.
He already did. He's I think he kind of started.
He said like we've got uniforms, and Konstantin is the only one who doesn't have a uniform, because I always wear this white shirt. You wear the noise engineering t-shirt, and Konstantin
and I change clothes.
Is changing. Yeah.
No, but.
No.
Yeah, but then I love that. Even before we started the show, I saw Ben's T-shirt. I'm like, Gerald's gonna have a fit.
That's why I put it on. I opened the wardrobe this morning. I was like, he's gonna be triggered.
Very good. I also did like an overview finally over the synth tracks from Erica Synth. Like, I really like didn't want to do it when I just got it because I felt I need to learn this machine. So after I made the album, I felt like I can now talk a bit more about how it actually works and how it sounds. And I made a very atypical video because there was basically no music going on. It was just like, let's listen to raw oscillators for half an hour or something. And it was fun to make. So, and then I shifted like a lot of work to the other stuff that I had to do, some commissioned videos for other platforms that I had to do. And also, promoting the album that comes out this, when does it come out? This Monday, I think. Yeah, this Monday.
Are there any LPs left? Are there any vinyls
There's still some left. Yeah. And now
Cool, 'cause I
Patchpoint is
really
selling
need-
them
I
in Europe, so you can order them from patchpoint.com, which is pretty cool, I think, that's
Yeah.
possible now. And yeah, I can even use this.
But do you still have them
Ooh.
on Bandcamp? Yeah, and
I still have them on Bandcamp. You can order them on Heinbach.bandcamp.com, and I'm really excited for this launch. And when it comes out, it's Monday. When it comes out Monday, I'm just be like, whew, because it's crazy 2 months of this, and that there's vinyl thanks to Chase Bliss is also pretty amazing. And that I did, and we continued with Xenon. I think he's also in the chat. We continued work on the fundamental synthesizer, and today the version that he sent me was such a breakthrough because we finally fixed the way the presets work. We made it all very easy, and it fixed a lot of like stuff that because it sounded always great, but now we got some great new ways in the UI that make it easier to play, easier to save, easier to do stuff, integrate stuff visually. And we added one of my most favorite feature, which is like you could always pan the 8 oscillators that this thing produces, but now you can modulate them around the parameter that you set them. So middle, and then you modulate it, then it goes like this. If you set it here, it will modulate like this and like this, or like this, and then like all the way this. And I just set this thing up and listened to it for hours. And we even joked that we should have like one of those healing apps or something in the end where we just make sound with this, and you just have like 3 parameters and that you can set, like mood, and maybe add some field recordings of some rain or something, and then just have this as one of these chill out apps.
You should.
Because
I think it's
things
actually it sounds like a good idea.
it calms me down. It's just so good. So that's coming out very soon, I think. Very soon. So
I have an idea for that actually. We'll get into that now, but let me make a written note feature idea that would certainly have me very excited. Me make note of that.
okay.
I like this that you say about moving around a point, and you can move the setting somewhere. It's why I'm not particularly fond of sockets and pots in Eurorack when it changes function when you plug a CV in. So it reverts back to 0, and it then becomes an attenuator, because you can't then work around a point. You've got to mix an offset in. It becomes a bit of a pain. I can see it's a feature saver, and I know it's a more.
Sorry, I didn't get that part though. Can you expand upon it? Like when you patch a point.
Yeah, so a good example, and they're not alone in this, and it's not a criticism of the company at all, but say the dry wet on the herb verb. Quite a few make noise modules do it. If you put that at 50-50 wet and you want to wiggle around that, as soon as you plug a cable in, because they're switching sockets, it reverts back to that knob is then an attenuator for the input, not a manual control.
Which
You
I
must have
prefer
had
most
that.
of the times. Yeah, but I
You- oh,
prefer
you
that,
do?
honestly. Yeah. I'd rather have an offset externally, because most of the times I'd rather be able to have like set the maximum level of where things going, because if you're sending envelopes and stuff like that. But it's my approach. There's like at least 3 different approaches. Like I think Paul Schreiber from Synthesis Technology always has stuff as offset instead of attenuation.
The knob
and
doesn't change ever.
Yeah, and everyone always complains like, "Oh, why is there no attenuation?" And one of the most interesting ones that I've seen was Sandrine, who,
from
SDS Digital.
SDS.
She kind of goes overboard with some cool stuff that she does, where some of the knobs can act as offset after 12 o'clock and attenuation below 12.
Both work well. On the SynthTech stuff for wavetables, if you find a wavetable across the thousands of single cycle waves, and then I plug something in and it's gone, and I have to with CV try and find it. That horrendous, absolutely horrible. But my example of like the dry wet on the herb verb was a bad one, because I do agree that if you want to put an envelope in to just go into wet and back, it's nice to then have.
Exactly.
So I've contradicted myself already.
But I think Befaco, you know, for me, I think it's very important to sit down when you're actually doing the design, the iterations, sit down and decide what should this knob be. I don't think it should be a given that something is an offset or attenuation. Yeah. Oh no, I'm just saying that like you have to think and be like it's either this or that one, and then kind of indicate it. And I think this is what Befaco do sometimes. Like I'm thinking of the where is it? The burst module that they have.
I was going to say times
this
and
is an
plus
offset,
and
exactly.
They've little
like,
graphics on
offset,
there, yeah.
Super nice, and I love the fact that they've thought about it. Like, yeah, okay, but this should be an offset because they need to divide, or I think that those things are super clever.
To be honest, even if I would prefer the other way around, and all the companies we've mentioned do this very well, the fact they've thought about it and they've made a decision based on their own creative practice, how they design it, how they see it used, how they see it integrating with their system, that's absolutely good enough for me. Even if I don't want it, what would maybe annoy me the most if you're like, oh, this just isn't working right, and you end up talking to them and like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. And it's like, oh, come on, think about how we're going to use this stuff.
Yeah, that's a good,
which good point. Has happened in previous years, shall we say? But yeah, everyone we've mentioned does a very good job. I like the little plus and multiplication symbols on Befaco. Actually, they're tiny, but they
kind of helps, because especially when you're looking, it's like, okay, yeah, now I know what this does. I know how to use it. But technically speaking, I think the idea of attenuation can be very useful sometimes, and so does offset. Like it kind of makes sense. Like for me, a very typical example is like 2HP. I think most of the times they go for whose modules I love. I'm a big advocate of the 2HP modules. I know people complain that too small. It's like exactly.
Well, just the company name. Just they're not hiding that from you. There's no surprise.
One of the funniest comments I've ever read on Muff Wiggler was, they made a module and someone was like, is there any chance we can see this in 2HP version, like in 8HP versions? Like the company's called 2HP there's no way they're going to make a big one.
I've seen that with Pico modules, and it's like, then they're all 3HP. That's the point. That's exactly what they're trying. Someone said it with the Valhalla Supermassive. Moaning about a free plugin, and like it's not a really realistic reverb. It doesn't sound that great on these, whatever I'm doing with it. And I'm like, A, it's free, and B, it's called Supermassive. If I was recording like a really nice pop ballad with piano and vocals, do you think I'd be running Supermassive on the piano? Like, probably not. So yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah. One last thing that we did also, which is new with Fundamental, is looping envelopes. So now there's envelopes there, so you can hit them with a trigger, and the envelopes come in. And because it looks like it's one envelope, but it's actually like 8 different envelopes per oscillator, and they are randomized. So they've got so they're stochastic envelopes. So once you start to loop them, all of these 8 envelopes will drift in and out, and they will never be the same. They will just keep on looping. So you already have variation. And when you then start gain individuation of each oscillator individually in the gain setting, which will also change the timbre, it just becomes this really never the same thing, which was pretty awesome to hear today, to how this whole thing is coming together.
There were a few bones in what you just said there, relating back to something I said earlier. Hint, hint, tease, tease, wink, wink, and so on.
I'm not going to spoil.
It's not stochastic envelopes. Don't get excited, anybody. Get the ADAC if you want stochastic envelopes. That's really good.
The ADAC one, you mean, right?
Yeah. And I've got one thing that I changed in my studio that I discovered today that other people feel the same about. And I'm very curious what you and also the chat thinks about that. Because for the longest time, I had cables running straight in the entrance, like XLR cables to the microphones, and a LAN cable and Ethernet cable. And I people stumbled upon them. It was not very nice, so I put in a cable channel. So, and just put the cables in there, and I really love standing on it. It's just so nice. And then a neighbor came in and he said, "Oh, very nice." And I said, "I love standing on these." And, "Oh, you too?" "Yeah." So it's kind of, I don't know if it's just us two that are weird and like to stand on cable channels, or if there's more people that share that strange enjoyment.
I had some really good news. Oh, go on. Well, let's get into cable channels first. We'll come on to the.
No,
nice
I am
news.
curious, but I'm not exactly sure what you're talking. Like, I don't get what the thing is that you like standing on.
I'll show you.
Show us. Yes, please.
It's like building. You can have them where it's like a little moat around the room.
Do you see the casual surge thing set on the back? I love like this.
This is the cable channel.
Surge. Ah, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I love
And
standing.
I
on
love standing on those.
Yeah, I get it.
Weird or not?
No, not weird.
Not weird.
There's something satisfying as well about taping cables down while doing live sound and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Taping cables down, like especially if you get the non-sticky tape, the one that's really meant for it. So if you have to like, when I did sound work for theater, and we only had like the tape that would really stick to it. So we set it for 3 weeks, and after that the cable was, of course, it was completely covered in that stuff.
I
Really
think
unusable.
the urge to just walk and stand on a cable channel is probably the same feeling that cats get. You have does either
With
of you have
everything.
cats? Yeah, but
No.
if you leave something somewhere, they're just gonna go and sit on it for some reason. I think it's probably the same feeling. Oh, this feels good. I don't know why.
Are people like, what is the set saying? Are people like, do they like on
Yeah,
cheap foot
Brumata
massage?
says-
Yeah, Brumat. Yeah, that's actually true. It feels nice. And the neighbor said it might also be because you're usually not allowed to stand on cables, and you shouldn't. So,
Okay, it's like fight the
so
system.
maybe suddenly you're allowed something. I don't know. It just feels nice. It's in a weird way that feels nice.
Yeah. The nice
was it?
news, somewhat unrelated, but I think I mentioned it here. The extension on the house is looking like it will start in 2 to 3 weeks.
Very nice. Very nice.
It'll be at the end of summer, and I won't then be able to move straight in. But I've got the luxury of having the back bedroom that I'm in, moving into the bigger space, and not having a rush to do so, which is I couldn't be happier about, because I can make some good studio videos, hopefully, of just here's an empty room, here's what it sounds like, and I can get acoustic treatment up that I have, and here's what difference that makes, here's what putting clouds on the ceiling makes, and try and do a really nice
Putting
from
clouds
empty
on the
room.
ceiling? What do
Yeah,
you mean
they
putting
get-
clouds?
Acoustic panels. A lot of friends over here tend to nickname them clouds.
Oh, okay.
A big, typical acoustic panel.
Yeah. Like the
Hanging
stuff
up.
behind me.
A bunch of modules, clouds from
Yeah,
Mutable
just
Instruments.
a bunch of clouds modules.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
put them up there. It's just like it's like the modular Dreamcatcher.
Dangling by their ribbon cables.
That's exactly what I was thinking. When Ben's kid was born, like they had just small clouds modules. Someone please Photoshop this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a good Photoshop job. But yeah, if looking at all the utility things of like that cable channels, if I want to actually kind of, you get them where people have almost dig like a little moat around the room, so they can actually get them down into the floor, kind of raising a floorboard around the edge. Looking at all that kind of thing. Some kind of, I don't know if it'd be a Z-plane or light scaffold or something, but getting everything up on clamps on the ceiling in terms of lights and camera, and never having
The dream.
never having stands to trip over would be beautiful. And I mentioned it to the builder, and he just said, "Oh, I can put whatever you want in that will fit your clamps, and you'll be able to hang off it." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to hang off it, but that certainly makes me feel confident enough I can put all the gear up on it."
Yeah.
So
Oh, but you can also have something where you can just pull yourself up when you're like after long of editing. You just need like some very good back exercise maybe.
So yeah, that was just this morning, which was nice. So we've already started thinking of. To be honest, I've already been scale drawing Photoshop floor plans for the room for months.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, make sure you get an impulse response from the empty room. Yeah, I may do a before and after.
Oh, that's
It
interesting.
might not be
Especially
the
when
best
you with
sounding
sound
room.
treatment. With the sound treatment, especially because that will make a difference. I mean,
There's a couple of Frank Zappa studio impulse responses in Altiverb, which work really well. Frank Zappa's drum room was, when you need a short reverb, just anything. It was just great. Probably heavily skewed by the fact it was Frank Zappa's. If it just said drum room, I probably wouldn't have clicked on it in the first place. But it did. It worked. It does work very well.
But is it verified, or did someone just go like,
Oh no,
I want
Altiverb
people to get
do.
this Frank Zappa?
No, Altiverb go and they take pictures, and when they'll do like there's the big concert hall in Vienna that I forget the name of. They go in and take pictures. You can actually click on the image in the preset and kind of scan around the room like a Google Street View of the space. They've some nice videos on taking impulse responses too, finding odd, quirky places. They did that. Not to go too far into plugins, but the speakerphone plugin, and they had they must have got a license for a Trent Reznor a cappella, and they were like, let's put Trent Reznor in the trunk of a car. And they're kind of slamming him in all these odd little situations in the speakerphone plugin. It was great.
That's probably the fantasy of a lot of people, putting Trent Reznor in the back of on the trunk of a car.
It worked. I mean, for Foley, if you were recording someone that was, close mic, maybe had a lapel on, and you needed it to sound more distant, like they outside a car, in the car, into a restaurant, into somewhere else, you could be automating in and out of all these spaces and doing a really nice job.
Cool.
So yeah.
Impulse responses are, I think they're one of the things that we still haven't, I mean, everyone knows about, most people know about them, but I think it's still like underused.
But aren't they like really popular in the guitar world now with all these profiling amps?
Yeah, that's
So
what
they're
Kemper's
super-
doing.
Yeah, but still, like, I mean, you can do crazy stuff with them, right? Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't
Diego
have to be
Stocco
a,
style.
it doesn't, exactly. It doesn't have to be a space or like any kind of recording can be used
Well,
as an
EQs
impulse
and
response.
things. If you go take an impulse response of a nice Neve desk, if you wanted to, that's let's say the Kemper Profiling amps will just run sine wave sweeps through AC30s, nice old Vox amps, and then they'll have options recorded through different microphones, just how they would mic it. But it's still a snapshot. I'm not sure how real they feel. Maybe someone in the chat's tried it. I've not tried the Kemper, for example. I think they are dynamic because there's enough information captured, to saturate in a responsive way and all those kind of things like a nice valve amp does. But I'm not sure how real they feel. I think sonically they sound right if you A/B them, just in headphones. But there's something about playing an instrument. I was talking about this with the DPW Mog 4-band distortion, which is a video I've done since we last spoke. The input's modelled on it's a JFET based input stage. It's like a tube amp, and it's got that kind of, I'm not sure I got it across well in the video, that kind of spongy tube preamp kind of feel that you can feel it under your fingers when you're playing the instrument, and that maybe doesn't translate to the listener at the end, but you can feel how the instrument is responding.
Yeah, but that's
So-
important. Like that will change how you play the music. That
Yeah.
will change it so much, and that's if it does that, it's great, absolutely.
Yeah, Gerald in the chat, he stopped going at me in the t-shirt and says that a lot of people swear by the Kemper. Yeah, you see a lot of them. There was the Access Virus team, wasn't it, that went on to do Kemper profiling amps.
Oh, really?
That's when people were crying for a V3 Virus synth. They said they won't because they went off and did the Kemper thing. So
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. There's more guitarists than there are synthesists, also. I
Yeah.
think
And there's that, what was Logi Ep.7 kind of the pedal that did
that you had
impulse
that.
responses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
still,
was
I
just
still
2
do.
seconds, right?
It had, I don't remember what it has two firmwares that you can use, and one is aimed at very short thing, so that it doesn't have any short impulse responses for cabinets and stuff like that, so that it doesn't have any delay. And for reverbs, I think it's like a few seconds, 3 seconds, something like that, which is more than enough for reverb, right? I would say for the
Cool.
tail and everything, and it sounds really good. But there's only like two modules that I know of in Eurorack form that do impulse responses. It's the Tasty Chips one that recently came out, and the and one from Mungo. So I still think it's there should be more.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just a processing power thing, if it's that simple. I know when people talk about why can't we have a Strymon Big Sky in modular, why did they make the Magneto first? But I know the Big Sky pulls, I think it pulls half an amp to an amp of power, and it's like, well, that's nearly all of a Doepfer case, so that's why.
But you have the Roland ones, right? 400 milliamperes, so there you go.
Yeah, they were separate power. You could still plug in a DC inlet on the back, couldn't you, on those?
Yeah.
But, I'd like to try the Tasty Chips. If anyone in the chat's tried that Tasty Chips impulse response module.
It recently came out, so I'm not sure a lot of people have it yet. But one thing that one module that I really want to bring up, since we're talking about it, because for me, the big distinction was, like, when I think we talked about this before? Like, in physical modeling, one of the most interesting things is you're using filters as bodies of instruments. And then I was kind of thinking that the whole idea that we have filters, at least I had filters in my head in the same way that like a DJ has, like cut frequencies and stuff. Like, I never thought of a filter as the body of an instrument.
Oh, right? Yeah, I do. I've done that a lot simply because of the performance and the resonance.
Exactly. So Formants and like the Res 4 from Schweben, and the whole idea of the low pass gate, the fact that you know, it kind of resonates afterwards, and exactly. So it's because it's exactly like an instrument of the body, the physical body of the instrument. And I think the best. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just same as the. Oh no, I forgot the name. The Surge. Resonant equalizer.
Resonant EQ.
Yeah.
Very much like takes into like the bodies of an instrument, I feel.
Exactly. So. And for me, I think the best module for this is the I'm very happy with a Morpheus. The sound that you heard today with I'm going to play it later on it's like 90% is a Morpheus from what's the name, Rosum Electro.
It's super powerful.
Yeah,
it's flicking through
and everyone's like, the filter. It's not. It's a weird filter. It's not. You shouldn't be thinking about it as a filter. And that's where I'm getting at. It's more like a weird convolution thing, where you already have impulse responses that you can change from bodies of instruments. Like
that's
synthesized
the trumpet
convolution. I would say 80 to 90% of the sound of that is
Can we hear that again?
Yeah,
the duck. Can we hear the duck?
Nowhere near duck enough. Let's try and fold some quacks in. Hang on.
There we go.
but yeah, the Morpheus. There's a patch in the manual that simply says to plug in a short pulse, really thin PWM pulse, and that's what will perfectly drive this kind of resonant space and body that they've made. Yeah. And it's not that nice when you just go, saw wave, low pass filter. If that's the mindset, at least with that particular kind of algorithm preset, it's not that great, truth be told, but you do what it tells you to, effectively ping it at audio rates, and it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. But that's exactly, so I was looking, there was a big discussion on the forums, and I was kind of looking, I don't remember the name, there was a huge, I was looking for different filters that I could repurpose for them to become the bodies of instruments. A really good example is the physical modeling sounds from Braids, which lack a filter. like Emily states it in the manual, like these sounds need a filter afterwards. So a lot of people are like, yeah, the plucking sound doesn't, like the violin sound, that doesn't sound that good. Yeah, if you actually put a filter after it, the appropriate one, especially like if you put a Morpheus and set it and put it on the setting of strings, mind blowing. Well, if you play it correctly, like if you use one of the Dope Touch controller, sounds like a violin, especially in a mix. Wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Yeah, of course you can if it's like soloed or too detailed, but you can in a mix, wouldn't make a big difference.
It's amazing what you can get away with, though. I mean, when I used to teach music in schools, we'd have loads of very cheap, like, classroom keyboards, and we maybe have 2 keyboards to do a big theatre, well, relatively big school theatre production. And we'd just get students on those with string settings, and it's like they'll hold a chord down, like string, just typical, like, string sound, and you're like, oh, God, it's horrible. But then when it's sat in amongst the real band, it works. I mean, anyone that knew what they were listening to could poke holes in it, but they do work. These things tend to sit quite well, I found.
Yeah.
We were talking just now about, you were talking about repurposing stuff for uses that it wasn't like actually meant to, but it can do that. And our guest today is, as I've found out personally, a master in repurposing things. For example, when I visited his studio in Utrecht, he showed me the back parts, like the back planes of brilliant care equipment, which is these nice duck green, weird duck again, and metal with all these holes. And he had them strung up, and you could hit them, and they would make an awesome gong. And when you closed mic, really close, it was washer, 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 washer. And that was just one of the many things in Wouter van Veldhoven's studio that fascinated me. And I would like to welcome Wouter now to our chat. Say hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Wouter.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. I couldn't get any whiskey, so the shops were really crowded. So I got some beer. It's a nice beer though.
Which one
What
is it?
beer are you having?
It's from a local brewery. It's called Black Flag. Oh, we're doing some promotion now by Liddell, which is like a black IPA. It's a porter IPA combination, I think, which is really nice.
Is there a way you can up the volume of your microphone?
I think so. Yes.
Because that's one thing that's missing on this platform is individual gain for people. I would love to like see
Can you
that
hear
an
me
audio
better
mixer
now?
in here.
Yeah.
Is it
Getting
better?
better.
Okay. Cool.
Could still come up a little bit if you've a little bit more gain on hand.
I'm quite loud actually. What's going on? This better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's good.
Yeah, I almost never use my laptop, and it makes a lot of noise. So I'm trying to cancel the noise from my laptop as well. So,
Yeah.
like this sound.
That's the laptop.
That's the laptop. Yeah. That's.
No wonder you're not using laptops in your music so much.
Well.
Maybe as a
actually
sound
do, but-
source.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe
yeah.
as a sound source. Yeah. Interesting. And you are in your studios, I can see.
Yes, this is my storage / studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got your modular blinking happily already there, and tape machines. And I first came across you, and that's also why this episode has unlikely techno in the headline, because you created a very, for me, almost a breakthrough piece of tape recorder, reel-to-reel art that where you used a bunch of tape recorders to basically make techno, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was making like ambient tape loopy stuff for quite a while back then. It's actually the techno thing was recorded almost 10 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
It's that old already, I think.
Yeah.
But I was kind of I think I was just getting a bit bored with making another loop thing, and then I decided, I like minimal techno, and just try to have a go at it. And so I tried it. It's my first go, and was my first go at trying to make something beat-like. And it was fun to do, and it got quite a lot of reaction for the stuff that I did, which I found quite odd because I think there's way more better people, people making better techno than I do. So it was just like a first try, and then people reacted to it quite positively.
Yeah, because the visual aspect of it, that you can see everything. Like I think we need to drop the link for later, at least in the chat, so people can watch it. But I put the link to Wouter's channel also in the comment under this video, so you can probably watch it there. And and when I visited you, we managed, like, I think in an hour and a half to make 2 tracks, and then before we were cut off by family matters. So I realized that I personally don't know a lot about your background, for example. I don't know what got you into making music with tape. I don't know how you ended up where you are now. So I would love to hear more about, how you started.
Okay, well, I was just a little teenage kid, and I wanted to make music, so I started to take guitar lessons when I was like, 11, 12 years old. And then after a while, I wasn't really that good, and I was also not, like, I naively thought, well, it's not for me to master an instrument very well, and I guess that's still true. So I decided to let go of the guitar and all the other instruments and just try to buy some samplers. And there was, I was still young, 15 years old, and I couldn't afford much. I couldn't afford any new samplers back then. It was in the late 90s, I think. And so I got secondhand stuff, and it didn't really work, and it made all these kind of weird noises because, like, they were just broken, all the contacts were loose and stuff like that. And I was really annoyed by this. Like, I want to make something, and I get all these weird noises and all this distortion and stuff. And then after a while, I thought, like, actually, the noises are quite interesting as well. Maybe I should just go with these. I mean, this is the stuff I have now. Let's just try to make something with that. And then, of course, the samplers are all of them are it's all digital gear. So the noises are quite harsh, especially if you don't have any filters, which I hadn't. Oh, there were a couple of filters on the Akais, but I didn't have anything, any proper gear back then. I still don't, actually. But so I decided to get into analog gear. Just try to get, like, a couple of tape recorders and see what those do if I put them before the samplers and record stuff taped on the sampler, and then afterward as well, and trying to do some tape delays, and then after a while I understood, like, I could do all the sampling I want on the tape machines themselves and have all these lovely analog artifacts like noises, and it sounds so I guess organic is the right word, and crispy and weird.
So the sounds that were before you thought, oh, these annoy me, you learned to embrace them.
Yeah, and I think that the other stuff that I was introduced to by that time, like the early Oval albums already. I mean, they also the early glitch stuff is also really into all the stuff that goes wrong and you don't expect. And I was quite interested with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like, but you mean also like clicks and cuts and stuff like that also?
I liked it, yes. I didn't make anything remotely like it because I was using a completely different setup. But I was trying to accomplish similar things, I think, in the beginning. Yeah.
And so that got you started on that road, and then you started amassing more and more tape recorders?
Yeah. So back then, if you were a student in the Netherlands, you got a train card, so you could travel for free. So I could roam all over the Netherlands and get really cheap tape recorders from everybody's attics. So I was amassing loads of tape machines, and I still, if you look around me, I think I have about 75 tape recorders now, which I have collected over all of them are
75.
not a single proper tape recorder in here. It's all like these
The
old
consumer
guys.
ones, right?
Hmm?
The consumer ones mostly.
Yeah.
I saw you had one nice Pioneer there, that I knew that's a good one. It's also not a professional one, but it's a very nice hi-fi one. So it's more hi-fi machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to have like a Tascam 8-track as well, but it doesn't work. And I
Do you fix them yourself if they break?
Yes. Well, fix them is a big word. I think I make them do things. So I use rubber bands and switch. Like if a tape head is really broken, like with rust on it, and it cannot be fixed, and I just put another tape head on it, which isn't. Which shouldn't be on there because the bias is different, and I don't really mind about that. It's just
Because you're not
if it
recording
makes sounds,
like
then I'm-
you're not recording like hi-fi guitar or something, and that's not the goal. The
No.
goal is to make
No, I'm-
interesting sounds, maybe.
yeah, just see what comes out of it, and then try to make music with that. Or if it doesn't work at all, then it doesn't work, and well, okay, then I switch to something else.
It's going to make a sound anyway, right?
Yep. Well, most of the time. Sometimes I get electrocuted, which makes sounds as well. But
How many times did you get electrocuted? Do you still
I
count,
lost
or is it? You lost count.
Ah,
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
don't
so
know
shocked after the first time. I was like,
Mm.
"Oh my god, this is crazy!" And I
Is
even
it
have
the
it
one
on
that you
camera.
have on
That was-
video?
You got
Yeah,
zapped on
exactly.
two different fingers, right? Like this. Like
Yeah.
that's the nasty.
That's the
If you
nasty
just have
one.
like if
One,
you,
yeah,
if you
jig.
just hit
I had that. I had like once, but I also had like the one where it's like because I was
that's-
stupid.
yeah.
That's also the most dangerous one. Yeah.
Mm.
I've since gotten
Yes.
very careful. Very careful.
Yeah.
I started wearing. I don't know if it helps, but I even started like wearing rubber shoes when I try out something new from the test equipment
Really?
stuff.
Doesn't really help if you do it like this because then
Exactly.
it's
No,
still-
but I always
yeah.
keep one hand away. I
You
just try it with
just,
one hand.
Oh yeah.
One hand. So
Rubber
I
gloves.
a
That
few
looks fancy as well.
rubber gloves. Yeah, they're everywhere. Right now.
Mm.
So yeah. And I like, but what I saw like when I visited your workshop, it has like this. It's beautifully mad because I feel like I discovered so much stuff later, like looking through the video that I want to ask about that. I want to ask about that because you've got so many different things, and it's not only that it's reel-to-reel recorders or lovely things like that wire recorder that you also showed me. There's also stuff that's in the electroacoustic realm, like the backplate that I was talking about, the Brilliant Care one. And there's more, right, that you're doing with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I just like hitting stuff and collecting stuff that makes sounds. But especially like anything that's metal and you hit it, it sounds lovely. And if you have like a string or like these kalimbas, the thumb pianos, and you just screw like John Cage style a couple of springs on it, it sounds so nice and deep. To do stuff like that. I enjoy doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, weird today when we're setting up, there was like some strange resonance at Constantine video, and then we was like, oh no, that's the mic arm. And
right here.
then we started jamming, and I brought out this and these mic arms. I don't know if it's just because this one is a rather cheap one, but you can like can you hear that? Yeah.
Oh, that sounds nice and deep. Yeah. You should turn it up a little bit.
Can turn it up a little bit? Okay. And then this.
That's the sound of a duck dying. There you go.
There's a lot of stuff. Oh, I put the reverb on. Yeah, but Constantine, I think yours sounded also pretty damn amazing.
I just realized I was muted before and I banged the table. So let me just do it one
okay, I
more
was
time.
wondering when
Let-
you're gonna
let-
start.
Yeah, here you go. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
Sounds
it's
like
very
a,
nice.
okay. So, but here's the actual. It's actually, if you think about it, super funny that nobody noticed that on the arm of the mic, like these springs make a lot of noise.
I have a mount that doesn't have a mic on that's the same, so it won't come back through the mic. But the I was going to say, you need to get a transducer on that. You need to start exciting it from your own signals.
Exactly.
Contact mic on one
Yeah.
end, transducer on the other. I remember Emily at Mutable Instruments, we're going a little bit off topic, but when Kinks came out, that has the noise and the sample and hold section, and she kind of said, "You notice anything kind of strange?" I was like, "No, it's working like a sample and hold." This was kind of before the module was released. So it's microphonic. Tap the panel, and you can hear almost like how valves go microphonic or can be. You can hear that. I think on the first batch, I think it made it into the final version, that if you tap the panel on Kinks, you can hear it through the noise output. I like that. I hope it made the first batch. I like that wasn't ironed out and it's a thing.
Yeah, I love that. This is like accidental sounds. Like, what was the awkwardly organic, or what was it? No, what was the
Yeah.
catchphrase that we had before?
Awkwardly organic.
Awkwardly organic.
Organic, or was it organically awkward?
Organically awkward.
you-
That is.
Organically awkward. Yeah, yeah. That's a good.
If you
that's a
really
good
enjoy
trademark.
these weird sounds of springs and stuff like that, you should really check out the work of George Smits, which was a Belgian artist and musician, and he made some really lovely stuff with big springs put on styrofoam as an amplifier. So he didn't amplify anything electrically. He did it with acoustically with styrofoam, which worked very, very well. And there's he was modeling these pieces of styrofoam to get the exact resonances for the springs he found, and it sounds really, really lovely. Unfortunately, I think he died quite early. Possibly because he was sanding these pieces of styrofoam all the time, which is quite unhealthy, I think.
Yeah, of
But,
course. If
there's
you
a
got metal flakes flying around, yeah.
Well, not the
Oh,
metal,
styrofoam,
but
styrofoam.
the
Oh, sorry.
styrofoam.
Yeah, styrofoam. Yes, of course.
So
yeah.
he was-
yeah.
There's
Even worse.
a short documentary about him, which I'll link to later, which is really, really nice to see. He did stuff with long strings as well, which gives really, really nice frequency responses as well.
Yeah, my friend Adam Morford from Morphbeats, I think Brumata joked that, Morphbeat makes a mic stand. Because he does this thing where he puts a lot of springs on like a cowbellish type of thing, and then he puts looks like it passed through hell, and you can make awesome sounds. Yeah, this is one of the bows that you get with them, and that you can buy for them, and then you can bow it and play it and hit it. And he did that, like I don't think he knew the work of the artist you're referring to, also because he's very like from his own world, how he makes all these things. He didn't know much about, I didn't know Einstürzte Neubauten when I visited him, all this
Okay,
stuff, like
yeah.
all this like that we take for granted here over in Europe is not something that's so known in America, for example. But so he just went at it all in his own very beautiful, mad way, and reinvented a lot of stuff in his own style, which I very much like in this whole, what forms the basis of things you can hit, amplify, treat with effects, and electroacoustic music sound apparatus.
And often the effects aren't even necessary anymore. Just the sound of the object itself is really nice.
So, like especially if you make the object itself resonate like, like it has its own space. I think that was his thing. He wanted to make like percussion effects that sounded out of this world without applying effects.
Yeah.
And then of course when you add effects, it's just okay, this is even better. But just out of it by itself, these things can sound very amazing. So yeah.
Thinking of capturing sound very easily, I stumbled upon these on Amazon. I'm sure they're available in other places. It's meant to be, basically a contact mic in a clip, and it's meant to be, it's got a 1/4-inch jack on the out for tuners. So for plugging into clip-on style guitar tuners, but for putting on the bell of a saxophone or other woodwind or,
Cool.
well, wouldn't be brass because you would be adjusting your playing, but they were £10 or $9.99 or whatever. And
Not anymore, they aren't.
but I mean, contact mics are cheap and they're plentiful. They're
Yeah.
easy to find. But having it in a decent housing in a clip,
Yep.
you know, rather
I
than
have
like
that too.
rather than taping one to the side of a cymbal that you're going to bow, or it's been really, really handy. And you know, they're cheap enough that throw them anywhere. It doesn't really matter if they break. Not that I'm trying to break it, but yeah, having it in a clip, really, really handy.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you, Wouter, do you use contact mics a lot, or is it more you prefer real mics, or how do you like amplify in general?
Depends on the stuff that I find first, I guess. No, I use contact mics quite a lot, but it depends a bit on the type of instrument. For springs, I usually just use like pickups because that works best, and often I just use like a which this is just an electromagnet, which is basically the same. And if you put a little real magnet on top of it, then it just works perfectly as a pickup for small single channel things. So if you do not have to amplify 6 strings but just 1 string, then I use that kind of stuff.
That's an electric motor. Sorry, did I get that right? That's an electric motor. That's like
no, it's a magnet, just a
a
magnet.
magnet. Oh, okay, just a magnet.
So an electric magnet,
Okay.
electromagnet. So it's you can get them for like 50 cents, I think.
Nice.
And they work perfectly. But I do not. Often I do not really need like hi-fi mics or whatever, because I normally record into like old crappy tape recorders. So whatever high-end stuff you use, it all disappears when you record on these tape machines anyway.
And you build one reason why you also have so many tape recorders is you build this machine where you took apart, I think, 4 or 5 different or even more tape recorders, and you made it into a pitch shifting looper.
Yes, I took apart 4 tape machines, and I mounted them on the. I think I can. It's a bit easier to show.
Don't break it if it's.
It's still broken, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Alert asked in the chat earlier. I've been taking note of a couple of questions that were to come to later, but he said make sure we ask about the pitch shifter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Ben, by the way, Ben is taking like notes of all the questions. So if you have questions, he will, we'll get to them definitely.
Yeah, either as they see fit,
do
and they,
You know.
It's still plugged in, so I cannot take it out that easily.
Yeah.
Maybe I can. It's over there, I think. Oh no, the other side.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to see, I guess, like this.
Yeah, I see it. I see it in the
basically-
far end. But I've made a video with lots of close-ups, and it's even on the thumbnail of that video. So you can. I'll drop that link in the chat so people can watch
Yeah, and
it.
I
know it is. The link is in the first comment that I wrote. It's in the comments,
Ah, right.
so you can like later you can check it out. Lots of close-ups how it is.
Yeah, it's basically like a regular tape machine, and then on this side I record, and then instead of going to the playback head, normally there's 3 extra playback heads mounted on the rotating reel, so the tape goes over these extra playback head, and they rotate either clockwise or anti-clockwise. So if you do that, then the speed of the tape head relatively to the tape changes. So you pitch stuff down and up accordingly, which is really nice because I really like the sound of pitch shifting on tape machines, but it's really hard to do live, because if you do it like in a normal way, then you would have like one tape machine playing at one speed, and then the tape going to the other one, which is playing at another speed. And if it's playing faster, then you just tear up the tape, and if it's playing slower, then you have all this spare tape which you have to leave somewhere. So you can only do it for a short amount of time before you get like tape everywhere. And in this way, which was actually the idea was invented, I think, way back on in the old GRM studios by François Bale, which is a really highly recommended composer from the 20th century. But you can, in this way, you can pitch sounds without having the spare tape problem, which is funny to do.
And there is it like are you talking about the Phonogene? Is it that one, or is it
Exactly,
another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple of ones. There's the Tempophone and the Phonogene, and I think there's even more variants. There were a couple of ones they invented around the same time.
And wasn't there even one, I think we talked about that had like a tape head that would just go all the way around completely, like it would be like like, so there would be no real gaps in the reel. Wasn't there something like that? Or do I misremember?
That's a good question, actually. I think there has to be small gaps between them in order for them to work properly. But I'm not exactly sure about the technical details of all these machines.
And there's of course no limit, like if you build this, you have to tear apart other tape machines. So there's basically, because no one makes new tape heads anymore, right? At least for
Not
reel to
sure,
reels.
No.
No, I think Echofix are maybe having their own made for their new tape delay.
Of
Because it's very Space Echo-like, but they've redesigned everything from the ground up, motor, I think heads, but not... But they supply a
would be
lot as
lovely.
well.
Sorry?
Yeah, I love that, just the look of it. I first thought this is a plugin when I looked at it with the blue color. I don't know, have you seen that? That's like a new tape echo.
No,
Can
I
you show
haven't.
Can you show a screenshot or something? I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
I will...
But wasn't I think it was T-Rex. There was a company that makes pedals that make a Eurorack module with a tape on
Yeah, but
it,
that's
right?
just a cassette. That's just a cassette thing.
Okay. But still, like, where did they get the tape heads for that?
You can get, like, for cassette, you can still get like cassette tape heads
Okay.
are still being made. So
There we go. If you can share that, if I maybe just have to zoom in like this. So I saw that image, and just like you, Pineback, I thought
it's a render.
it's a, yeah, because plugin companies
Yeah.
like to do that. They like to do 3D looking renders of their soft synths and things like that. And I was like, hang on a minute, no, this is real.
Yeah.
And I think Gerald's got one actually in the live chat. Gerald picked one up. But yeah, lovely preamp. There's a digital reverb and a spring that you can blend. It can be reverb or chorus on the DSP side. So again, real spring like a 201 from Roland. Real spring, real tape. All new. Now ships with an EP guitar preamp. It says there they must have modelled an Echoplex preamp on one of the input stages. Yeah, kind of camo green. I think there's a black option as well.
Duck green.
Duck green.
It's the Roland Space.
That's
Echo
not
color,
dark
isn't it?
green. That's not. That's more
it's
straight
all-
like
it's-
color.
Close enough.
Yeah, I'd much prefer the blue, truth be told, to green. But
Blue is lovely.
sound
The
on
green
site. It's
is
not
really. Isn't it exactly the same color as the old Space Echo by Roland?
very close, if not.
Which one?
Uh,
The green one.
Yeah, I think
on
so.
the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of is. I think it's a wink.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of it is very space echo like, but as you pan across, sound on sound,
It has sound on sound.
it's not the longest delay time, but still, it is certainly better than not having it. I'm sure many of us like sound on sound. Line and guitar in, CV over speed, CV over feedback, foot switch cancellation. Again, the bass and treble that just affects the delay. The bass and treble, I think, is like the space echo in that I don't think it's in the feedback path. I think it's on the output of the delay. So you don't get that more extreme filtering the longer the feedback goes on that you would in the feedback path. It's more of a general tone color of the echo, I think. But similar switch for the modes as well, where you can bring different heads in and out.
Yeah. And of course,
Well,
this
if
is
you want-
mono because Christopher asked stereo mono. But if you would literally double the heads, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Double everything,
No
double
way.
the mechanism, double everything, double tape. So
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
stereo, you need two.
Has there ever been any tape echo that's stereo?
I'm going to
Not
make
that I
one.
know of.
I've got a summer project on the go. There is many tape echoes here.
Well, if
and
you
we-
just
And now
go
you know.
buy 2 tape machines, then you have a space echo that's stereo.
Yeah, but that's like okay, but that's
you have
two
very long
machines.
delays. Short delays is a bit very
Short delays are
is
harder
also,
to
but-
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like I tried to do like when Simon was here, we shot like one video that he never released because in the end it didn't sound good. We tried to make the shortest tape loop, and it was just like I put a piece of tape on a motor, and put that around a pencil, and so that was the whole loop. So and then the motor spun, but what happened also would be that the electromagnetic noise of the DC motor would also be picked up by the reed heads. So you would have that dirt would overlay the sound that was recorded. But still, I found it to be an interesting video. I hope Simon should put that out because it was just a fun thing to do and a good idea. The shortest tape loop, the size of basically a pencil.
Gerald in the chat, the Hawk HE2250, superb stereo tape delay with 5 heads.
Okay.
What?
Wow.
Well, I've got it's not quite 70 odd tape machines like Wouter, but I've got 7 tape echoes or tape delays here. So I'm going to try and I'm going to pull the Allen and Heath mixer down out of the loft up above this room and try and build a stereo reverb out of 7 tape delays. I think because I can get free feedback paths going easily around that mixer. So pan some of them, have some of them feed back to the other side that they're in. I think can do it, and it's a very clickable. Can we make a reverb out of 7 tape delays? It's a good title for a video. So
Very
it's worth
clickable.
Yeah.
it's worth exploring just for that.
Yeah.
Sounds very.
Yeah, but I
nice.
mean, of course, with any tape echo that has 3 heads, any tape machine with 3 heads, you can make a delay, so that works really easily.
Yeah, but a reverb. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Ah,
I mean,
because
they
you
won't
make a reverb. Yeah.
they won't diffuse, of course, but I wonder if I can. Yeah, what I'm going to have to do to try and make it do it. We'll get close. We'll certainly get into the primitive reverb-ish, which was a few delay lines, but yeah, it's not going to diffuse nicely into a wash, and it'll probably be really, really noisy. But
I could actually simulate just now because I've got like the Dynarcode WRS-23 on tap here, and that has got that. It's a bucket brigade delay, but it has a reverb mode, which is just a bunch of bucket brigades spread into the stereo field. Which, of course, the system is mono, we won't hear, but it just gives you a sense of how these old things sounded. I can just do this on my voice.
Is it analog?
Yeah, it's analog.
Cool.
Switch it to stereo. So, this is basically a bunch of echoes spaced apart in the stereo field, which you can't hear. I don't know if it sounds really wide when you play it here. And it does sound a kind of reverbish, but it only works for pads really well. So, let me just up this. So it's more of a scattered, like canyon kind of reverb, like the reverb you get in Canyon, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
That
weird
with
canyon.
that with tons of noise going on is effectively what I'm going to get.
What I've done previously is like when you have a tape loop of approximately 5 seconds, or doesn't really matter how long it is, and then you put a tape delay, just 2 tape recorders next to it, and record the loop on the tape delay, and make try to fit the tape delay on the exact same length as the tape loop, but it will never fit perfectly. Then you get similar effects because you will get really like the succession of really short delays, either in front of the loop, or so you get this like reversed reverb effect, or the other way around. And because the tape loop is a bit unstable always, then you get these weird, ever-changing repeat pattern-ish things in the reverb, which is really nice.
That sounds
to work with.
interesting. That sounds very interesting, actually.
So you slowly build up the reverb then, instead of having the reverb at one point, but just with the feedback of the delay.
Yeah.
Which is nice to
That's
do.
That's very interesting. And I think like one thing that you showed me when I was there and I was really fascinated about, because it sounded like metal ghosts from the past, was the wire recorder you used as
yeah.
a feedback and echo machine and everything. It's just
Yes.
so interesting. So
Yeah, that's
can we just talk a bit about wire recorders and tell people who don't know what they actually are, what a wire recorder is? Because I don't think that's really known technology that much.
yes. So I've got one here, a couple of them actually. So this is one of the wire recorders. It's the Soviet wire recorder. So the wire recorder is very similar to the tape recorder. It's a precursor to the tape recorder. So before they were recording on magnetic tape, they recorded it on metal strings or on metal plates. And the metal string type is like the wire recorder. So there's just a very thin, it's so thin you cannot even see it. It's just, believe me, there's a wire running here. It's thinner than my hair, and you can just record a mono signal on there. And
But it does work the same with magnetic recording, right? It is magnetic recording.
yes, it's magnetic recording. Yes. So in most places they stopped producing wire recorders in I think in the 50s or the 60s, because then you got tape recorders which has like a wider frequency response and better quality audio. But in the Soviet Union, they kept on making these, especially for military uses, because you can have like on these little tiny reels, you have over 5 hours of recording time.
And to put that in perspective, like 5 hours on a tape machine, that's like would require giant reels.
Yeah, or very slow tape speeds. Which
Very
won't
slow
work,
tape
but-
speed. Yeah.
So that's why they kept on making these, and for some reason, most tape wire recorders, they're from the 50s. So they, like most tape machines from the early 60s, late 50s, they have like 2 heads. But these ones, they have 3 heads. So you have a separate erase, record, and playback. So you can make little delays with them. So that's really nice. So I've been using them quite a lot since I got them last year for a festival in Russia, which was really nice. That's a different story. So I've been exploring them a bit because they have like a very narrow frequency response. So they're very lo-fi, but that gives a really nice. I'm not sure. It gives another set of limitations to work with, which is nice.
Yeah, and I think like the sound of it. Do you have like one that we could hear? Because I think it just sounds
I've
so
got one plugged
fascinating.
in over here. You cannot see it, but if I turn it on, you'll hear the noise. You hear that?
Yes. Yeah.
Instantly, I like it. Just by the noise of the unit.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
just for a simple example, if I let's see, if I put a little bit of so that's just a couple of sine notes from just a couple of pulses directly from the Doepfer. Very, very simple. And that's directly. If I put it on the
Sounds like something that has time traveled.
Yeah.
so it's really if you compare that to the original, you hear that all the that's a bit noisy. So all the bass is gone and all the highs are gone as well. So you have a very narrow band of frequency where you can work in, but it sounds so nice. It's I'm not sure exactly how to explain it.
It's,
It's
for
really
me, it
nice.
sounds so characterful, and people in the chat said it has a number station vibe,
Yeah.
and it just has like a really lovely texture. There was
Yeah.
really it spoke to me immediately. It made these when you played the clean ones, they're like, okay, yeah, this is bleak blonk,
Yeah.
but when it sounds to this, it's like this is a secret government transmission.
Yeah.
Time travelled, as Constantine said. It sounded like it had come from somewhere to our
Yeah.
ears. It's great.
Time
Yeah.
traveled plane plonks.
Yeah.
It sounded really good instantly. Like I like the sound from the Doepfer directly, but as soon as you switched over, I was like, oh, that's very. That
Yeah,
sounded,
the Doepfer sound is so cleanish, so okay, it's a
Yeah.
sine wave. Yeah, okay, I've heard those before.
Mhm.
And then even if I mean, there's not much to filter on a sine wave, as we all know, but just all the noise and all the attacks that just get
Yeah.
mingled. Is
Yeah,
really,
people are saying it's like shortwave radio also, so it has that kind of like you can create your own transmissions. And when
Yeah.
you I think like when we played together, we started combining these with other sounds,
Mhm.
and it just made it's such a nice thing in context because you've got only these middle frequencies, and when you start like expanding in the low end, then again, suddenly you have this rich mid range, and then you can play around that up top. It's
Yeah.
very remarkable, I think. Just thinking about arranging around that, it's just it's so good.
Yeah.
So I definitely know what I'm hunting for. I've been hunting for one ever since.
Yeah, I've got two more of these actually, and one of them is broken. But as soon as I fix it, I mean, I do not need more than two of them. So if I fix the other one, then I'll probably be giving it away because
Okay.
it's,
Yeah. Or we can
I
swap.
don't-
I've got. I've got.
Don't
I've
say
got
that on the stream. Just speak to him privately.
Yeah, I got so spiral.
I
Right-
honestly
right here.
think like I did it last week because I have a couple of years ago I got a couple of quite a lot of gear from a friend who was moving to Denmark from the Netherlands, and he had this pile of stuff, and he thought like I cannot take it with me. I didn't buy it. I just got it. So he gave it to me. Like if you can use it, please do. And then after a while, I was sitting around in the studio, and I had this piece of equipment laying, which is an old analog computer actually. like test equipment stuff. I haven't been using it for over a year. And I thought, well, this stuff is. I mean, it's just a shame for it to be here and not being used. So I'd better just give it away to somebody with these instructions. Like you have to use it within a month. If you do not use it for over a year, then you give it to someone else, and then just try to have it like going around a bit across the community.
That's
instead
good.
of just catching dust in my studio or somebody else's studio.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I just saw you wrote on Instagram that you're giving away like these modules. I don't know what is the analog computer stuff, or is that something else?
Yeah, that's the analog computer. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a clock counter and a maximum length sequence generator, which is really nice to have together with all the other test equipment, because you can create longer sequences, which is quite hard to do when you're using test equipment. Definitely.
Oftentimes you're very much limited to a few steps. I've gotten away like with using word generators and clock divisions now. Yeah. And I also have an analog computer here that I'm especially like the first patch that I want to do on this is just clock division and clock multiplication. So that's just a patch that I want to learn. That's the first thing I'm going to try. And then of course there are these delays. There are delays in test equipment that are basically just pulse delays. So you send in a steady stream of pulses, and then you can delay that stream of pulses, which is very interesting and does crazy rhythms. So I get 2 of those delays, and then you can create super, super fun stuff. So yeah, I think those are modularly available. Like trigger delay is something that is available from Dubfer, I think. So that's you wouldn't know how helpful these things are.
They are really nice amazing. To make, also to make weird kind of polyrhythms. If you just
exactly,
if you really nice. 2 of them and then put that into a clock counter, it's really, really nice.
Yeah, I've got a very weird one here. Ben, I'll set up the shot so Ben, you can.
Yeah, the one I was going to mention, the Moleco gate delay, will do entirely variable, free running, just analog shifts in time, as it were. But it will also clock and then do rhythmic division multiplications of the beat to stagger them across a grid, and chaining them across each other. It works really, really well. Doing a kind of
because it has like 4 inputs, 4 outputs, right? And a mixed output. It's super cool. I'm making trademark patch, which is like a, how do you call those? I always forget. Anyway, I'm just plugging. It's a very simple patch. If you have a clock that has a on-off input, like the 2HP one, or any other clock that hasn't, like I think the Pamelas and stuff like that have though. Just get the output of the of your clock into a clock delay, and the output the output of the clock delay to start and stop your clock and trigger other stuff. So your clock is going to get into the delay, and then the delay of the clock pulse is going to turn on and off the clock. So it gets a life of its own. One of my favorite patches, I always call it the Stoic patch because it's very simple. And it can breathe life into things. Things get changing the rate of the clock or how fast the delay is going to give you completely different things. And one of my favorite things with that is I was actually using the Moleco delay for that, and it played for 6 minutes and then it stopped itself. Because like, if you think about it, it's just a simple pulse clock, right? But it's getting delayed, but it's starting and stopping itself. So at some point, it might fall at a situation where it's going to stop itself, and then no pulse is going to come again to turn itself on. But you never know when that's going to happen. So it was just playing music for 6 minutes and then it just stopped. Which is lovely, right? It's like music.
It decided when it was finished.
Exactly.
Almost feels like it knew when the time had come.
Yeah.
I like that. I like how polymetric patterns of longer odd numbers and larger odd numbers often take a long time to come round. Setting multiple patterns with a first kind of 5 to 10 numbers of like the Fibonacci sequence, for example, just it takes so long for pieces to come back round where they all hit together. You very nicely at different tempos go, okay, this won't repeat until 7 minutes, and that's a nice length for this piece. So when they all hit, boom, done. That's the end. You have a defined start point. I really like working that way.
Yeah, that's also like when you have 3 tape loops running at different speeds. I wonder if there's ever a point when they will like really be together, because they also wobble all the time. So there's always this variation. So even if you've got like exact timed loops, I think there's still variants that will make, like, even if they are on time, never really exact, maybe. So it's always shifting in that regard.
Yeah.
Wasn't piano phase and all those stuff that Steve
Steve
Reich
Reich?
did?
Yeah, it's 2 tape players playing
Exactly.
Piano
against
phase
each other.
from
actually
that.
isn't. Piano phase
Isn't?
is.
It's live played.
played.
That's live played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
amazing,
right.
actually. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and drumming
But I
also
think-
is
but
live
they-
played, but he started with tape. He applied tape recorder
Exactly.
techniques
Yeah.
to live playing. So
That was the whole idea, I think, started from the experiments that he did with tape, and then he just applied the same
Yeah.
technique on the
Yeah.
piano.
but that's
wasn't the first piece like? Oh, sorry. What?
But there's of course there's a difference between like having these shifting loops because they never repeat, because you never have you'll never have an exact fraction of the other, because you're cutting it by hand, so you'll never have like a 1-to-2 ratio or whatever. Exactly. But you also the mechanism that Constantine was explaining, that's almost like the more like a lower order chaos thing, which is like completely unpredictable.
Perfect, exactly. But that's the thing.
so-
But the reason why I call it the stoic patch, because the whole idea is that the chaotic aspect of it, I call it stoic because you can't get more simple than a clock and something delaying the clock, and then that feeds back on itself. It's just 2 modules. It can get simpler, but it's the exact premise that you were talking about, chaos.
So, which is, of course, there's a lot of modules that make, especially the stuff made by Hordijk, who has done a lot of work on chaotic systems actually within his work, which is really nice.
I think if Hordijk's
the
name
Benjolin
comes
stuff.
up, sorry to butt in, I think if his name comes up maybe 5 more times, I'm going to hit this order list for a Hordijk system. I'm mentally ticking like, right, okay, when we get there.
Sorry about that.
No, his
What are
work
we-
is truly amazing as he is as a person. But yeah, sorry, you were saying the Blippo boxes and the shift
The
registers
Benjolin
and
as
things
well.
in the Rungler and the Benjolins, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, let's
the
not
pre-
get
the-
into
the
the Hordijk
premise-
system.
But the premise of
Before
all
we
of
go
these
into-
is...
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go
Go
ahead.
on, you. You're the premise.
No, I was just saying that the premise of all of these is very simple. It's just feedback systems, right? It's like
Yep.
the change that feeds back on itself. Because I just love the whole idea, which kind of goes back into what Heinbach is doing with the test equipment. Like if people look into the whole idea of cybernetics, which was a late 50s, 60s kind of thing, that's the idea. The idea of feedback. Like getting information from the environment and putting the environment back into the system, and it's amazing. And it's that's how all of these things get interconnected: modular systems, tape machines, the analog computers. All of them kind of start from there.
It's almost this butterfly effect, where at some
That's the
point
same
the
thing,
system has
yeah.
become so complex that you do a tiny change and everything changes.
You know where this butterfly effect comes from, right?
Chaos
It was,
theory,
it
right?
was Lawrence. Lawrence was I think a mathematician who was working on weather systems just for fun, and he created on an analog computer like a little simple simulation of the weather, and then out of that came this chaotic attractor that is unpredictable but stays within this certain region of behavior. And actually, if you plot this chaotic attractor, it looks like a butterfly. So that's why there's like
Ah,
a twofold reason why
really?
it's called the
Yeah.
butterfly.
But the funny thing is the attractors are called Lorentz attractors. But the
Yeah.
whole idea with the butterfly was, I think he was late, and the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was late for a conference, and the people that were having the conference wanted a catchy thing, and they kind of put the whole butterfly effect in there to get people, this is fancy stuff, like, and then it caught on, and Lawrence was never happy with the title of the butterfly in there.
Can we
Okay,
get
yeah.
recommendations for a good reading on that? Because now I'm super intrigued.
Oh,
So-
Chaos Theory by Chaos. What's the
Yeah.
author again?
Wait, I have it right here.
That's the best book.
James Gleick.
Yes,
Gleick.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you,
James
Olivia,
what?
as well.
James. Let me.
Show the book. I'll solo you.
Yeah, Greek.
Chaos.
Yeah, sorry. But this
Okay.
is the
James
James
Gleick.
Gleick. Yeah, it's
Very
a good
nice.
introduction to the. Yeah, it says house. As you can see, remember the brand? Okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
Chaos.
Yeah, and it says like a new science here in Greek,
Mhm.
and this is the author.
Mhm.
Yeah, right here.
Lovely. Oh, another thing. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I was
He
just
wrote another.
just
oh.
yeah. You please do. Go on.
He wrote another book about information, which is also a really nice read.
Okay.
That's
Is it like I don't? There's one thing that I wanted to ask before I go to this just showing a piece of gear. Do you have like a background also in an academic background that influences your music? Because I've got no idea basically about because we didn't get to talk about it. That.
I'm not. Yeah, I have an academic background a bit. I studied theoretical biology and bioinformatics, which is basically the study of complex systems.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that I'm using it really like one-to-one in my music. I mean,
Constantine is
fun.
very
Yeah.
happy about that.
Yeah, because I have background in theoretical chemistry and
Cool.
quantum mechanics. So I've studied. Well, it's not the same thing, but I love
Yeah.
whenever, because most people do chemistry or biology and stuff like that. But when I run into someone that has done the theoretical thing of the, like, it's super cool. Yeah.
If you can say MIDI to CV, CV to MIDI 3 times, he'll keel over. That was the one in the Superboost streams, wasn't it? You were so happy.
Now it's chaos. I guess. Cool.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, so no, I just set up, just want to show this piece because I haven't even like worked with it. I just set it up and I set it up next to the analog computer. And it's just this crazy kind of delay. So it's from EG&G, Princeton Applied Research, who's the company that also organized like Area 51 and stuff like that. They're one of the defense contractor also, but they also did lots of stuff for super fast photography. That's where the roots of the companies come from. So they how to photograph like an atomic explosion. And this is a digital delay generator that goes like to nanoseconds. And I really don't have much of an idea yet how this can be applied to music, but it has all these outs, and you basically put a signal in here, and then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different outs of that signal, I think. And then you can set different times here, where this gorgeous, that alone is just fun. And then you can set like the voltage levels also. And so 5 volts is very nice because that will interface with the analog computer also nicely. But apart from that, I don't have much like knowledge, and I don't even know how it sounds because I just got it. But it seems like it could be a cool tool for all kinds of things, or it won't music at all. But it's kind of the risk that I take when I buy this stuff. So if you got any patch ideas already, just by looking at it, I'd be happy to hear that.
On it?
The maximum delay. Okay, let's just go back. Oh God, GPIP address. Okay, I'll just turn that on off. So, bloop, bloop. So I can type in. So we are in nanoseconds. So now I can probably just. I need to put the lights somewhere where it don't. So I can go to 99999 nanoseconds. And then I can set what as FCN B. Okay, so I can set different, for different outputs, I can set different delays. So that is, and I can set a different rate also. So I probably can go kinda lowish. That's something to export. Trigger level, key to save at 10, key to recall, scan ID, scan step, triggers per step. This is very deep thing.
Yep.
The deep
It should
magic.
be able to create some sort of oscillations if you plug it back into
Yeah.
itself, right?
Yeah, I was thinking to do a couple of strong stuff with this, and yeah, just
Isn't
see
it
what
too
it
too
does.
too fast for it though? Too
Yeah.
fast, like nanoseconds? I don't.
I was
think
thinking
we
how
can-
high pitched it's going to be in nanos.
It's like
I've got no idea. Maybe it won't music at all. I mean, this is nuclear research stuff. It's not meant for music, but that hasn't stopped me yet. So yeah, we'll see. But
you should make a record called Launch Codes, because I think that if you patch everything up, there's probably like at least one nuclear warhead somewhere in the planet that's just gonna launch.
when I
connected to
use my
something that
stuff,
you own.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's
somebody
so-
already commented it's like 100 hertz minimum frequency, so that's quite not useful.
quite not useful.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
100 hertz. Oh, well, that's useful.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was
Yeah,
reading
Minimum
a couple of
frequency,
yeah.
yeah.
That's nice.
it could be. I think there could be fun with that, and I'll just hope. I mean, like, I've had so much good experience with EG&G, Princeton Applied Research stuff so far. Like, they made some of the best equipment that I've ever like had and played with. So I just hope that this one works. And I got a digital delay by Tektronix, which is this gate delay thing, and that works fantastic. It's in my Tektronix modular, and it's just amazing to create delay divisions from triggers. So it's a fantastic trigger delay. So I was hoping that this would be that in the monster version. That could make sense. We'll see. Yeah.
Oh, there's a couple of questions as well. Wasn't really looking at the chat.
It's okay. I have a few questions. One really early on that was completely different about touch interfaces that I just made note of, but some related. Wouter, have you used any Como electronic gear, the field kit, for instance?
No, I haven't actually. It's a really nice thing though, but I normally I tend to build these things myself. If I want to, I would use it to power up actuators, but I make little amplifiers myself, so then I can just plug them directly into whatever thing I'm building, either the dupe for or something else. So I never used the field kit, but I'd recommend it, using it though. If you want to start with mechanical sounds, then that's a good way to start.
We had a couple of questions from Frank as well. Have you ever worked with ZX micro drives as a tape delay?
No, I haven't. I was I've been planning to actually, well, not on the micro drives, but I've been trying to make like my own purpose-made tape plate, just tape stick to a vinyl, and then trying to mount a tape head on the vinyl where the needle should go, and then a couple of those, so I can record on in like a 4-second loop, and then choose the loop and record new stuff on it, and that would be really nice, but it doesn't work. Not yet, though.
I like the idea of dropping the needle in and out of loops like you would tracks on an album, on a
Yeah.
vinyl record.
Yeah, and you can do it with vinyl, but of course with closed loop, but then you cannot record to it. And I would really like to be able to record stuff on it, and then just have like a dozen loops, and then just fading them into each other, and have them exactly sync to each other.
Frank's second question was, can you tell us the name of the tape machines that you got from your friend when you acquired that free gear?
Oh, there was no tape machines in there. Did I say there were tape machines? There was just it was Brüel & Kjær microphone, which I gave to Heimbach already, and there was a really old piano tuning device, which has also a couple of oscillators in them, which is really nice.
Hmm.
Is that the Rode and is it a Rode and Schwarz piano tuner by chance?
Oh,
Because I just looked at that somewhere. I just saw a Rode and Schwarz piano tuner, which looked like a very massive thingy.
oh, it's a really small thing.
Oh, okay, so then it's not the Rode and Schwarz.
Just
The Rode and
just a
Schwarz is
minute,
like
I can
UBM
take it.
sized. It feels something like that would happen.
I almost died. So
All for
this
the all for the stream.
I'm not sure
Okay.
if you can see this.
Nah.
Yeah, I got a couple of wires going in and out of it to control
Okay.
it. So it just generates a lot of sine waves, but it also has like a tuning mechanism, and if you connect that to the output, then it goes into strange feedback mechanisms, which is nice. And then I got the test equipment I was talking about. I've got one of the modules laying around here. So stuff like this, that lighting. This is the maximum length sequence generator. So you can just put some pulses in it, and it just sort of creates deterministic chaos-like pattern back, which is really nice. And I'm not sure what other stuff I got. I got more, but I don't know exactly what I got anymore.
With the whole test,
Oh, and
test
maybe he
equipment
was
thing, it
thinking
feels
about-
like... oh, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe he was talking about the stuff I got from Russia as well, because last year I was playing at a festival in St. Petersburg, and of course I couldn't bring all my tape machines with me because that's kind of not really practical with the planes and stuff. So they gave me this opportunity to start collecting on the Russian eBay, and they would buy loads of stuff for me. So I was just figuring out, and so that's the way I found these wire recorders, and they bought them for me. And then when I got there, I was there for a week, so I had about a week's time to get to know these machines and build an installation with them. And afterwards, they were shipped to the Netherlands. So that was really nice project. So that's why I got a couple of Russian and old Soviet wire recorders.
I really like the idea. That's how I went when I went to Colorado. I didn't bring any gear with me, but I'd ordered stuff on eBay to be shipped to Atem, and then played like Tektronix through some effects, and that was just so. It makes you really because you don't know if it works, you know. Like even if
It's quite
that the
stressful.
wire recorders worked, right? That's like you just hope that it works. Yeah.
And I've never heard one of these machines before, so I had no idea what I could do exactly with those machines.
It's amazing turning up and not knowing what you're going to have. I mean, I had that in Seattle with, I didn't take any, very different, but just modern Euro rack. And it was just a case I sent a modular grid and said, let's get as close to that as we can, just borrowing things. And it wasn't quite the case. You know, there were certain modules that you just couldn't find from any friend of a friend or a shop to borrow. And for me, it was a real test of, are the concepts I'm trying to perform around strong enough? Or am I just indulging in individual modules that I have the luxury of having at home? And I think it held up. It was quite nice. There was a couple of bits I was like, oh, actually, yeah, maybe I'm just indulging in certain things. But most of it, I think, held up. It's nice to do. I'd like to do it again. Just I'm used to it with playing drums in bands. You just kind of a drum kit, and it's like you'll make it work. But it's not as variable, certainly as modular, and even more so a wire recorder or test equipment.
Yeah, or even a tape machine. Like when I went to Norway this year, I didn't bring a tape recorder because my friend said, "Oh, we have a Nagra here because it's a film sound school that he works at," and we put it on and it didn't work. So I couldn't do I planned to do tape loops across the room and stuff, and I brought the sounds and everything, but I wanted to do live piano looping basically on a Nagra, which I just love. Just play it into the Nagra live, loop it, pitch it down, and go over that. Couldn't do all that, but it was fine. I had prepared to do something else anyway, so but just in case. But yeah, you can only playing with this kind of gear that you don't know. It is kind of a risk, especially with tape machines. Can be.
Whenever you talk about the test equipment, now that Wouter is on, I kind of feel like this is such an unexplored territory. Whenever you discuss, oh well, this does this and this does that, I'm always thinking there's so many modules so many module designs that you can come up ideas and stuff like that for Eurorack or other modular formats.
Yeah, there's a lock-in amplifier. If someone were to make a lock-in amplifier, I mean, you can patch one up with 10 modules, then you can make a lock-in amplifier. And there is, in fact, one for teaching. There's a semi-modular lock-in amplifier made for teaching. And you can still buy that for 2,000 or something, 3,000. And it comes in it looks like a Synthi, comes in a box even. And you can patch all the components of a lock-in amplifier. Really lovely instrument. I try to get one every time I find one, but it's hard because it's just schools, and when they're in schools, the things that are from schools are usually just dead because they're just dead usually. But so a lock-in amplifier would be a great module to have. So
how would you use it? If it was a Eurorack module or something like that, how do you use a lock-in amplifier?
You ping it and it becomes the most awesome bass. So basically on my album Impulse Generator, all the bass and all the stuff, it's all lock-in amplifiers, and it can do the full range. And with the standard lock-in amplifier, you can also use an external control signal, so you can even make it pitched, have an external sequence going in there, and then run that through these it's a bandpass filter with a reference frequency and a gain and an incredible amount of gain, because those were meant for they've got so much gain you can read almost brainwave patterns with them. But if you have that much gain, it just overdrives so crazily and enormously. So that's what you would need basically for that. And it's always the combination of the whole package, to have an internal oscillator, to have that bandpass filter, and to have that amount of gain both on the input and the output. That just creates such a raw instrument. It's not very. It's and then you've got all the phase offset, so it behaves differently to what kind of signal you put in there. So, there's a lot you can do.
Sounds interesting. Well, there you go. There's a good idea right there.
Yeah. First one to do will probably sell a bunch of modules. Cool. So I think we're almost getting ready for last orders. So last drinks for this. This, by the way, chat, this doesn't mean it's over. It just means we're nearing the end. So if you get questions, you should put them in now to everybody. And
I think we should.
We do have some
jam.
Yeah, we go. Yeah, that would be a lovely thing. Now that we've got our resonance stuff here, we can do a little electroacoustic jam. Oh.
Ooh.
That's a background we were talking about.
That's the one I was talking about. This just sounds crazy. Yeah. So we can do that. So let's do the questions first, and then we'll do a little playout jam, which would be the first, I think. I want
to hear that thing again. That sounds really good.
We need to that's going to be the start of the session.
It's basically any piece of metal will work, I think, if it's about this size, and just hold it close to the mic. Oh, That's too close.
I fully believe only Brilliant Care of Denmark will make that good and rich of a sound. So better hit up eBay. Well, putting up all my backplates now for the low, low price of 399 euros.
What was I just going to say? Leo Makes, the YouTube channel Leo Makes, who is one of the two behind Strange Science Instruments. They have a very nice high quality mixer and stereo filter. Pre-Superboost 2020 stereo filter for Eurorack, but he has his own YouTube channel, Leo Makes. I'll find the link, put it in the chat in a moment. And he makes a plate delay. He makes his own little preamp. He's sending a transducer into the plate. I think it was an IKEA...
It was an IKEA desk.
Yeah,
IKEA desk,
like a metal part of a I mean, I've seen people hang up old kind of steel frame beds before and turn them into plates, but the Leo Makes one was great because he kind of followed up to say, actually, this bit doesn't sound great. Maybe I think it was maybe the preamp that he looked at, or a certain EQ curve he felt he needed to feed out of the send in his system into it that really kind of brought the thing to life. I'll find the link and drop it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
But questions. Eugene asked, has anyone ever played with a carbon microphone?
Those are the really old cheap ones, right?
I'm not
the old
entirely
carbon
sure.
mics, like that you get on old Philips and Grundig machines from the 40s and 50s, right?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, the little handheld.
Yeah,
kind
the
of
little
plastic
ones. Are
units
those the
with-
carbon mics, right? I think.
I'm lying. I think I have. These.
Yeah, I think those are these carbon mics, aren't
That
they?
looks nice.
Something like this?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
This
probably.
came with
Yeah.
an old reel-to-reel.
Oh, this came with the wire recorder.
Yeah, I think those are carbon mics. I might be completely wrong. I mean,
That's
like,
I'm not sure. They're carbon mics. I've never heard of the term. This one is I think this is similar to like the old phones.
Yeah.
But I think that works with a. Doesn't it work with a crystal? I'm not sure.
it's a
No idea.
Kohlemicrophone. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see anything
Call
in the
a microphone.
packagings. I can't see anything on there that states it's a carbon microphone. But yeah, an old Grundig reel-to-reel this came with.
Yeah, I think those are usually because they're cheap, and those are usually the ones that are that. And I think there's even one by Shure. I think it's not an old one, but yeah, there are a few of these carbon mics around, and I think I have a bunch of them, like because you buy them because they look fun at any like thrift store. Like I can try that, and it's always good to have like a lo-fi mic option. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kohlemicrophone, yeah. Yeah, all telephones had them, exactly. So, very long time.
Really early on, and it just wasn't part of the chat. Christopher Lylegard, I think it was, said he's looking for an interesting touch interface. Any thoughts on the differences between the Zero Control, the Verbos Little Horse, and the Pittsburgh Voltage Controller?
Of those, I only know the Zero Control, and that's really responsive and works well. So,
Yeah.
I can
Looks
recommend
very,
that
very-
one. No.
Although
Yeah,
the
other ones I
also
don't
the
know.
Verbos also looks very interesting as well. Like I was looking at that before the Make Noise one, the Zero Control came up, but I think both of them are quite. Touch controllers are such a personal thing. Like some features.
Yeah, because some of them work with you and some won't. Because you
Unless you lick the fingers. Like I have the Dope for touch controller right here. It's just absolutely. It's different, right? Monophonic, but it's just so nice to use.
the one that was meant for the Trautonium, right?
Yeah, but the pressure on this works absolutely
Yeah.
brilliantly. I don't think anything else goes. Maybe the red one, the one that feels like a diver. Which one? What was the name of that one?
The one with the Haken Continuum.
The Haken. Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe the Haken is far better, but I really like the ribbon controller from Dope is absolutely great. If
It's
you want,
lovely.
If you don't mind, yeah. For
tried
monophonic
to-
voices, it's absolutely brilliant.
I tried to make one with magnetic tape. It's possible, but it's really crappy.
How would you make one? Now you need to talk.
Actually, magnetic tape, especially if you lose like the bigger tape, like half-inch, it's just a linear resistor. So if you put a long stretch of magnetic tape and you just add a contact there and you wire both ends, then you can just create like a simple ribbon controller by resisting stuff.
And it didn't, but you meant it doesn't work well, or is
No,
it just
the
something
resistance
where
is
you...
very, very high, so it's really hard to get any proper signals through it.
Okay.
So.
Still, I mean, like, if at some point you would do tutorials videos, that would be just, I mean, like, stuff like this would be just these process behind the scenes stuff. I mean, that would be lovely. So
All the failures. I can make videos of all the failures I've done.
Yeah.
oh well, that's there's I know there's Simon Gertz who makes this thing called Shitty Robots, and
Oh yeah, that's really nice.
amazing. She documents her failings, and it's really it's lovely, and
She's
you
funny,
learn
though.
still learn
She's
a lot
very
about.
funny. I mean, the one with the alarm clock that was
Yeah.
slapping, that was so hilarious.
Yeah.
I was laughing out loud. That's super
Yeah.
funny.
There's still you learn a lot on the side through all everything that she does and trying that. Ben, your mic is off.
Take a drink. I was muted. Christopher says, nice try on my old Norwegian last name. Yeah, apologies if I'm butchering. To be honest, I've butchered English names, never mind anything else. So I do
I
apologize.
wonder. Yeah, we should Lislegard, probably something like that. Double A.
So-
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Any more questions that you took note of, Ben?
The one that came up earlier, just a general, have we seen it? Gerald asked, if we're talking tape, said we must talk about the Moto Modular Space Case TE2 cassette delay.
Yeah.
That's the one that's ripping up all the old Marans.
Exactly.
Yeah, a long unit, but everything on there for
Yeah,
cassette and delay.
everything. Mm-hmm.
Looks great. Again, I'll find a link for that one.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for questions. If we've missed questions, tag me, please. That's the easiest way. If you just, when you're typing your question, just put at DivKid Video, and then it comes up red for me. It makes it a lot easier for me to grab questions. But no, I think that's it. Other things like the Expressive E2 Share came up, and a couple of other controller
Oh
options.
yeah, that's
and things like that.
that's so nice. I definitely want to buy one of those, and I think especially made a new amazingly looking keyboard where all the keys are expressive. I
Oh,
don't
the
know if you've seen
Osmos.
that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and they've
looks
got the
so good.
they've got the Harken Synth engine in there.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
Continuum that they've licensed.
Which is probably one of the most impressive sound engines out there. Like you can do amazing stuff with this. Just sell away your modular and keep. You can have a lifetime spending making sounds on that engine. The Harken engine is super deep. As you
Yeah.
I
can,
think
I'm already
Kim
getting
Björn
super
asked-
happy. Oh, sorry.
Dong.
I'm touching- I'm
We'll go
the
to the
gong.
jam in 1 second. The gong. I really thought it was a gong in the beginning because it's half the screen. But Kim Björn asks, would you always prefer tape to pedals with tape features, and why? Why not? I feel tape sounds like something different.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to simulate it. It's really hard. You can get good. It doesn't mean like the pedals that simulate it sound bad. They just sound like they sound. And every tape echo sounds so different. I've got a copycat here that nothing sounds like that thing. It's just like, and not even like Sam has the same one, I think, and it sounds also different. These are, and there's stuff that you can like hardly emulate. Like for example, when the heads get all dirtied up over time, and the loop just degrades so much. That's also lovely. I think for me, at least, there's something with tape that you can't model really nicely, I think, though I've used tape algorithms in plugins because they're like the comfortable thing to use live, for example, sometimes. And I traveled with a Nagra to Toronto, for example, for tape looping. But it's kind of it's not very convenient to lug around like another 13 kilograms of equipment with you. So
No.
I like but I like the pedals. I remember posting on Instagram. I think it's years ago where I had like the Deco, which I think is really good emulation.
That's Strymon,
of
right?
that.
Strymon Deco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they kind of nail it sometimes. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the tricky parts of the tape, the Deco, I think it's a weird exception because they're going for the sheen of the tape. They're not going for
Yeah.
the wobble or the delay or the
Like a
stuff that.
high-end
It's-
reel-to-reel studio recording thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they're going for the gain and the compression that the tape has and stuff like that. And yeah, I obviously don't have the ears for tape that Heimbach you have. It's like maybe, but it's not close. But for me, it sounds really good. So
Yeah, just
I don't know
And
if
with
they-
tape machines, it's not only the sound. I think for me at least, it's also like the maybe it's a bit elitist, but I like the mesmerizing moving of things. Just I can just
Mhm.
put a tape loop on just
Yeah.
for myself and just watch it going for hours and hours and hours, especially if it's
Yeah.
two tape loops.
It's
Uh,
definitely
I-
not elitist because a tape machine is much cheaper. Like especially ones that use, they're much cheaper than any pedal. Like
Probably, yeah.
like an Akai, it's just or Sony and all one is just super cheap. So
Yeah.
these are cheaper alternatives to pedals actually most of the time.
yeah. Valhalla DSP delay, which is $50, is fantastic.
That's
we
a
have-
I love Valhalla all things. But
The Matthew Shaw brought the Strymon Volante round, and we compared it to a few tape machines. And unlike others, the kind of model of WoW and Flutter was close. It wasn't as kind of cyclical and repetitive. That, of course, tapes are looping, but there's something else to it, as we say. None of them touched the saturation, any kind of emulation of tape. There's just something.
Yeah.
And those cheap machines, copycats, Sims Echo decks, all those kind of things that are kind of sub €300,
Mhm.
quite regularly find them not that expensive. They're great and noisy and kind of wonderful in their own
Yeah.
way. So, yeah.
yeah,
and
Puck asked
This
how
one
do
is
you think
also,
stuff? Oh, Tensor,
I don't
yeah,
know if
that's
you-
from Red
yeah,
Panda,
it's
right?
not. It's but it's not tape based at all. I don't think like they even make the claim that it's tape based. But I love the fact that you can actually do the time because it loops that you can do the time and pitch change at the same time if you want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
which kind of makes those wobbly sounds super.
Yeah.
Good. Like I mean, when they when you lower it and it goes super low, especially if you pass it on a deco afterwards, it can get a bit samey with tape.
Yeah, and then we had Puck asked about the difference to UHE Satin, which is like a complete tape emulation. You can emulate a lot with that plugin, and I personally like when I first tried that plugin. I think I got it. I don't know when it came out actually, but I think I experimented. I hear some sounds here.
Sorry.
Are we getting
it's
ready
me
for the-
playing around.
We're getting ready for the performance already, so I'm just
No,
gonna answer
well,
that quickly. No,
I
the
found
thing is,
some adhesive tape, which is nice too. Sorry for the interruption.
no, that's very good, and also like when you like
That's a
attach
really
that
good-
to the microphone, it becomes a bass line.
Yeah.
You know, when you attach it, put it on the microphone, then that becomes the body.
Yeah.
I wish I had to like. I'm gonna grab before we do this. I'm gonna grab a balloon because that's amazing. No, what was I gonna say? Well, hey, it's really nice to explore. Like, it feels like flipping through a photo book of tape machines and exploring like the different sounds because they've got many different machines that are in presets modeled there that people try to do as well. So it feels like a catalog. I think it's like 70 to 80% cool. So but there's none of that. What I like about like recording to a great hi-fi stereo machine is like that you get this super nice stereo image that's just natural and deep, and you can see really wide, and that's something that none of these things do because they focus on saturation, and they can't model that stereo image. I feel that's always missing. So that's why I say like 70%, 80%, but you don't get the depth of field that you get with an analog mix run onto analog tape. I think that's it also, like an analog mix onto analog tape. That just has, to me, the greatest depth and feeling of being finished. So we're talking hi-fi tape.
No experience with hi-fi.
One
That's
thing
a
that
good-
does that
good
works
answer.
really well. It's a video I'm working on at the minute. The Tan H wave shaper from Instruo, which is 4 HP, 3 channels, very simple, just in, pot,
Yep.
output, no CV, but it's level dependent, and it's in pure data and max MSP. There's a Tan wave shaper, and they say in the description that it's kind of hard to explain what it does. It's like it's like lots of soft knees into a limiter, or a very soft clipper. So if you put a triangle wave in, before that clips into being square-like, there we go, you can actually turn a triangle into a sine. So that seems counterintuitive for clipping and limiting. You would think it would always just be adding harmonics into richer waves. It will very nicely just round off those triangle peaks. But the reason I bring it up, if you put simple waves in like a sine, you push it into a sort of filtered-ish square. You know, it's softly clipping on the edges. It's not hard, kind of 90-degree angles like the square or pulse wave. You put a rich wave in, because it's curved, it actually softens, say, saw waves, and it's exactly how tape drives and blooms. You know, when you push tape and you overdrive it, and the bottom end blooms, the fundamentals become richer, and you actually kind of lose a little bit of top end. If you put rich waves in, it blooms like tape, and it's absolutely beautiful. If you put simple waves in, you know, it's more like a distortion. You're adding harmonics, and there's no CV, but it's level dependent. So put the VCA before it, or send a dynamic signal in, or I had it in my Echoplex feedback loop. God, it was just glorious. It just letting that blown out tape feedback just go wild, just with a soft ceiling on it.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
It's perfect. That's why I got it. Like, as soon as I was reading about it, and I think it's just perfect in a feedback path. It's absolutely stunning in a feedback path, because it allows you, it gives you a huge range where that feedback is not just going to go wild and mesh. It's like, you get lots of sweet spots if you put that in a feedback path, and it just sounds lovely. I think, isn't he, Ben, correct me here, isn't he just adding it into some of his modules, like in the input stuff?
Yeah, when I went up to see them when we were designing Oct, he kind of came over and dropped what was like, you know, little candy sweets in my hand. He was like, check these out. And they were the size of, you know, transistors and op amps and things like that. And I was like, what are these? You kind of looking closer, you realize they're not components. He's really small surface mount, so a couple of levels of surface mount down from the typical surface mount we see in Eurorack modules. He's made that circuit on a chip. Well, it's not a chip, it's on a tiny circuit board, but in practice it is like taking an op amp and just going, okay, that's the gain stage for this. Or so on the Arbor granular processor, the input has the Tan shaper, and it's set to a level where it's not doing any driving or limiting at standard levels, but that gives all of his DSP, like in the Luber and Arbor the granular, it puts an analog, very lovely tape-like analog ceiling before it hits the A to D to go into the DSP on the module, so you can't clip the digital, and if you push it too hard, you're getting this tape-like bloom, soft clip shaping. Very, very clever. So yeah, he's dropping those on inputs in several modules now.
Yeah. Or you can just get the Tan and just put it in front of your digital modules and get that clipping instead of clipping. Sorry. Cool.
Gentlemen, are we ready for an electroacoustic performance? Ah, okay. So I'm not gonna get the balloon.
You should. It's a different sound.
Oh no, it's good. I got enough here.
love the clicky sound.
Yeah, we need to get Ben like a really heavy mechanical keyboard for the next time of this. Something chunky. Oh, lovely. Thank you, gentlemen. That was fun. That was definitely one of my absolute highlights of this whole streaming thing. It's lovely. Yeah, it's lovely. Great.
That was a good way to finish this thing.
Yeah. Thanks to your crazy boom arm, Constantine, that sparked the
fun.
idea for that. The gong. Yeah.
The gong.
Lovely.
So I think
need
it
to
was
go, by the
Christopher. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I have to.
What?
There's some stuff going on. Sorry.
Okay. Good.
Okay, about it.
That was kind of sudden. Sorry.
Okay. All good. Okay. So,
Yeah.
thanks for
No worries.
being here. It
Yeah.
was lovely. Have a great day and a great night. And see you
Yeah,
soon, hopefully.
too. Thanks for having me. And see you soon.
Yeah.
Probably.
Check out Wouter's music. Check out his channel. Give him a subscribe. And his Bandcamp is also, I think, should be somewhere on your... We'll drop your Bandcamp also.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
check out his music. It's absolutely lovely. And I've been a fan of your music for a long time. Check it out. It's beautiful. And yeah, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ah, perfect.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. So, yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you all for hanging around and having fun. And if you, we're going to do the next one probably in 2 weeks because that's our regular schedule.
Yep.
And I personally have one thing that I want to drop for next Friday, where we're not doing single malt synthesis, but I'll be doing a show with Scanner, which will be in this realm of electroacoustics, and because we'll be processing food sounds, and we'll be having a dinner together. I think I even got an image for that. Yes, solo. So it's gonna be dinner for
that's
two with me and Scanner, and we're just developing it, and this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be on next Friday at 8 o'clock Berlin time, which is GMT +2, and so this is gonna be a fun event next Friday.
That's a really good
So-
title, by the way.
Yeah. I need to switch it off. So good. So yeah. So
Links are in
that's
the
it.
chat. If anyone wants to support, go follow Constantine on Instagram, Heimbach's Patreon page, and also mine if you'd like to support what we're doing. But thank you for being here either way.
Thank you for being here, and I hope there's somebody else streaming, so everybody can move over and rate that stream. And Ben has got a perfect resource for all these streams that you should just drop now in the chat, because it's really, it's a curated list of all the cool stuff that's happening.
The streams I know of, there is one. It'll be too late now. The next streams that I'm aware of, well, the big one tomorrow is Signals, presented by the New York Modular Society, and it's around 9 to 10 hours of streamed, performed modular music from lots of names we will know, some new acts as well, some of which I checked out, which were great. So a big kind of online performance festival for modular. That starts tomorrow at 4 p.m. right through to 1 a.m. Eastern Time, USA.
Lovely.
Just 10 hours. Nothing.
Yeah, no.
And there's so many people, huh? No, very good. Very good.
Cool. Super.
Cool. So thank you all for being here. Have a great evening. Yeah, and see you in the next one, I would say.
Great. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.